turning this to this. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, you guys. Today we have a very dope tutorial. It's probably one of my favorite tutorials because it's an imperfect canvas. He has a thinning crown, as my boy said, thinning edge up, a naturally dry hair texture. Hair is more dense in certain areas. This can be a difficult hair texture or a difficult haircut to accomplish for any barber in the barbershop. So I thought that showing you guys how I do it would kind of build some confidence, and we can go from there. All right, first things first, like I said, my boy said, is getting a drop fade. I'm going to comb the hair out. I was using the comb that was too small. Had to adjust that. Got a larger comb with wider gaps. Then I'll go back with my thinner comb later. I'm already balded out one side. I already balded one side, so I'm going to be teaching from the left side because the lighting is better. First things first, he's going to drop fade. So on the occipital bone, I keep the fade. I keep that primary line below that bone, right? Then on the side, I'll go up along the parietal ridge and keep it along the temple. So it goes above the ear, temple, parietal ridge, right there where my thumb is at. So I keep it much lower than that, so it's actually lower temple. The reason why I'll keep it so low, because he's getting a drop and he won't have the curves on the side, but the vertical lines on Ced's head are really small. So if I took this line up too high to start off with, then it'll be very difficult for this fade not to run up into that parietal ridge. So I want to give him a nice smooth transition. So I'll start low because he has very small vertical lines, and I'll fade into that later. I'll show you guys what I mean. So I like to put the hard line in because whatever I put the line in with, I can get the line out with, but I love a nice clean workspace, a nice even symmetrical workspace, and I accomplish that by putting the hard line in. So this is why. If you can notice, like I said, Ced has a very small workspace on the side of his head. Okay, right here. So I look from this angle, I step back to make sure it's even. Then I see certain spots, I'll hit it. If it's not even, then I'll look from the front. Now, I'm not trying to make sure the edge up is even. I'm making sure that the lines on both sides, the primary line that I made with the clippers, are even. And then I'll readjust from there. So Ced is getting a 1.5, but so I'll eventually use my Andy Super ZR. But first, I'm going to use my Andy's Magic Clip. Why? The Andy's Master is an adjustable clipper. So that means I can do an open 1.5, which actually gives me more space to work with. I'll cut the hair down. Like I said, Ced has naturally dry hair. So that means when his hair hasn't been cut in a while, it stands straight up. When hair is standing up, you actually cut more off versus when it's laying down in a uniform pattern. So I'll kind of tame that hair by cutting it down with the plastic 1.5 open. Then I'll come back and give my Andy Super ZR an easier job. Also, I'll only hit the spots that aren't thin. You'll see what I mean, because at the end of the process, I'll lay this hair down with hot lather and then it'll look perfectly neat. So it's all about steps and techniques. You don't go in, you can, but it'd be very difficult. I could have put a 2 on the Andy Supra, but I thought this was a better technique. The plastic guard cuts less hair off, so that I can come back and take more off and lay the hair down better with my metal guard. I hope that makes sense. Also, if you notice, the hand is not cutting, it's my control hand. I control the scalp, I stretch the skin, I keep the canvas stable. All about techniques, right? And then when you do these kind of cuts, it's all about confidence. You don't want to get so much nervous. Okay, you know what, I know it's here. No, do the process. Even if it's not looking how you think it should look at a certain point of the haircut, you have to trust your process in order the end product will be great. So now, look at this, check this out. Now I'm using my 1.5 on my Andy Super ZR, right? Now, same thing, now I'm cutting a little more off, but I already cut the initial I already cut the initial section of hair down. So now when I cut with the 1.5, I'm not taking as much off, but I'm laying the hair down. Now, if you notice, I'm not hitting the crown so much because it's already thin. Being that crown is thin, I don't have to do much there. That was another thing. If I would have went into this 1.5 with that crown standing up because his hair is dry with the Andy Super ZR, it would have looked so thin. So it's about technique, even with the edge up. I'm very cautious, watch for cowlicks, growth patterns. I get a front on view, that's gray hair right there. And just look, I lay the clipper flat, take my time, technique. All right, so that's pretty much what that was right there. I'm gonna stay around. Okay, here we go now. Step 3, actually. Primary line, cut the hair down. This is the secondary line. Secondary line primary line blends the hair into the scalp. This brings the whole fade together. Now, again, he's getting a dry fade. This doesn't have to, this primary line, the secondary line right here, I apologize, would be about maybe an inch wide. It doesn't have to be super wide. Even though he's getting a dry fade with no curves, I'm going to work this out. If I make this line too thick, then the fade will go too high. If I make it too thin, it'll look like a chili bowl. So watch the hand is not cutting, my off hand. I'm stretching the skin. I'm stretching the skin because, again, I don't have a large workspace because of how small Cedric's vertical lines are. So I stretch it with my thumb. Same thing, right? Now, if you was to look at this, you would think, okay, damn, his crown is so thin, it's going to look crazy. But it's all about debulking. So when I get to the debulking step, you'll see how I kind of bring all this together. Now, a lot of you guys going to say, damn, bro, you talk a lot. Well, it's about breaking things down. This is an instructional tutorial. So after I got my secondary line in, now it's time to take the secondary line out. I got my Andy's Magic Clip. I love the Magic Clip for this because very strong motor. It's not a large range to work with, but the motor is smooth. It has a surgical blade on it, which means the back of the blade is flat with no curve. Makes it easy to get flush with the scalp and cut. Now, if you notice, look at my hand when I cut. My strokes are very loose. Well, my grip on the clipper is loose, right? My strokes are very smooth, relaxed, not jittery. I've watched a lot of young barbers when they cut, they want to make these short, choppy steps. They grip the clipper like they're trying to choke the clipper out. This is not a mixed martial arts fight, bro. You're not putting the clippers in the chokehold. Thumb on top, relax about 2 or 3 fingers on, and just stroke from the wrist, right? That's another reason why I have an offhand controlling the scalp. I stretch the skin. When you stretch the skin, the workspace becomes tighter, and now I can work. Because if I didn't have my hand on there, his scalp would probably be moving all over the place depending on how hard I'm using the clipper. I cannot focus on one section if the head is moving all over the place. So guide hand and light strokes. Light strokes, comb every few strokes to space the hair out, lay the hair back in this regular growth pattern or lay pattern. Technique. See how smooth and fast this line is coming out? It doesn't take forever when you have a proper technique. So loose grip, take your time, and I'll be back. This is where it gets magical, right? This is where you bring everything together. Debulking is such an essential part. He has so many dense spots, so many thin spots. If you can look at the scalp, you see light spots, you see the scalp. This is where you blend that together. I take a 1.5 and I debulk. Debulking is basically thinning out certain areas. I'm not cutting the hair down, but I'm debulking, right? I'm making this look like one flush surface. But I don't debulk every area the same. Some areas get more firm strokes, meaning I take off more hair. Some areas get lighter strokes, but it's all about the pressure. So a thicker spot, right? Let's just say a spot right here. I'm going to apply more pressure and more strokes. A spot that's a little bit thinner, I'll do a lighter stroke, less strokes. But it's all about the debulking, right? Because I know that, okay, his crown is thin, but the sides are thick. But I have to make this look like one smooth cut. Anybody can do the very, well-maintained heads, the great hair textures, but this is where you make your money. You'll become a master barber. Confidence, patience, take your time, and use the comb. So I don't need the brush, right? Taking my time, debulking, hitting spot. And look, this debulking method, to debulk this cut takes longer to debulk a regular cut because I'm actually earning my money now. Right, there's a thick spot in the middle of the crown, but the outer area of the crown is thin. How do I work that? Well, you saw that one stroke I took there, and now I'm working the thicker spots to blend it. So debulking this section will take a little bit more time than it would a regular haircut or a more common haircut. Right there, boom, even on the edge up. See, he has a thinner edge, so instead of me having to push that edge up back later in the cut, I debulk it now to make it all look thicker. To make it all blend well. So I thin it. Now I'm debulking with my 1 on my Magic Clip. Now watch, after debulking this step, this fade is gonna look dang near done. But it's not, obviously, because I wanna make a nice, smooth, crisp. I don't even know if smooth and crispy can be the same thing, but I want the transition to be beautiful. So you see I changed my voice for that word, beautiful. But no, it's okay. So back to the comb, I debulk. It's all about hitting the spots. I've mastered the technique because I've done it so much. This is a technique that I've been doing for years. Debulk, debulk, debulk. So that way when it's time to blend into sections, it's easier for my masters. A slogan that I always say, the lighter the area, the easier to fade. You see how I'm making this area light? By debulking. So when it's time to fade these two sections together, it's butter, right? Even, so I'm also, if you look at the top of the parietal ridge, right? His hair is thicker on top because he has, on that parietal ridge, his hair is thinner. I don't know if you can see, I wish I can point to it. But up in that area, it's thinner, especially towards the back of the crown right there. I'll come and debulk that later. But see, it's about stretching the air, stretching the workspace. You guys just watch. That's the beauty of it, debulking. This is the magic right here. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this canvas. You guys are going to see how he came in. You remember how he came in. Wait till you see how he leaves. All right? So debulk, work your sections, work your techniques. I like flipping the clippers. I'm like Kyrie with the handles. And I debulk, you can also go with the grain and debulk, right? So when you debulk, right, a few steps about it. It's not just cutting. It's about pressure on the clipper. How hard you're pressing takes more off. How hard you're not pressing, how light you're pressing, takes less off. All right, look at that crown. It's starting to blend. That crown, I'm going to show you the other side. That's why I left one side undone and one side done. Wait till you see the difference in the crown on one side and the other. It's not going to look like you're thinning. That's magic. That's craftsmanship. That's craftsmanship. So you guys watch and become craftsmen. See you in a little bit. Yo, when I be saying I'm going to be right back, I guess I'll be meaning right back. Okay, so now this is where we bring both sections together. It's no more debulking. I've debulked, it's thin. Now I take my Andes Masters and get to work. Now even I'm still stretching. Now I'm doing a down stretch with my out hand. A down stretch when I'm stretching the skin down. Still combing, no brush needed. This is the tiger claw method. Now my job is easy. Light strokes, a full stroke. I'm going through using the back side of the clipper, front side of the clipper, debulking right there. This is where I blend on the parietal ridge right there. It's all about, how do I say this right? The repetition. The more you do it, you build confidence. Take your time. Watch these. When you watch these videos, watch my hand movement. You can listen to me. You can mute me. Matter of fact, you should watch one listening and then mute. This is my 1/16 guard. I'm hitting those thick spots because, again, his hair is so dense in certain areas. I still have to work certain. I can't hit every area the same because I don't have a fluid density throughout the hair. It's all about technique and stroke, right? Let me see if it's anything I should mention. Stretching the skin still. Now, I can't tell you what lever point I'm using, which notch, because you have to go off a feel. Learn how to use the clippers in every which way. All right? So you guys watch me blend together, small strokes right there, boom. It's all about what I'm hitting. Remember, stay focused on the area. Don't just go crazy and start fading. Know what you're fading. Okay, I went from primary, blend that in. Secondary, debulk that. Third step, now I'm bringing these two sections together. So there's a certain seam line that I'm going to hit to bring my two sections together with my comb. Again, I reiterate, I don't need a brush because the brush kind of clumps the hair together. Comb keeps it spaced out in this natural growth pattern. You guys watch, and I'll be back when it's time to attack. I'll be back in a little bit though. Look at the difference in these two sides. This is side A, side B. Boom. Look at the crown. Look at the hair. You see the inconsistency and density? You see what I did there? See how it all comes together? I hope you guys did. Now the edge up, I don't even get worried. Remember, he had those real thick, thin spots on both sides of the edge up. This is where I work those. I'm working the edges. Remember how I kept that set primary line real low on the side because he has small vertical lines? Well, now I work that. That thin section on top of his hair, I debulk with the grain. I'm just working the area. This is why I stretch the skin, take the guard off. I work it with the guard on, with the guard off, one guard, no guard, but I'm stretching the skin. Now, this is my secret. Don't tell nobody, although it's all over YouTube. Hot lather. You put the hot lather on, you put a warm rag on for about 15 to 20 seconds. Now, I'm massaging that lather in. I'm softening up the hair shaft, getting all 3 layers, the medulla, the cortex, and the cuticle of the hair shaft, and boom. Now, after I laid that hair down, I see which areas I got to hit again. Because again, when this hair is dry, it stands up. But the fact that this hair is now has some moisture in it, and I see how it's going to lay when he maintains it, now I can see what I have to adjust. Alrighty, time for the edge up. Now, this can be a very intimidating process because he has thick spots, thin spots, very thin corners on this edge up. How can I do this without pushing back, you ask? Well, I'll answer. You debulk on the edge up as well. What? Debulk on the edge up? This is what I mean. You take the comb. See, I got a thinner comb here with thinner teeth. Watch me debulk with the razor. Boom. Now, you don't have to do this. You can get a clipper and put like a 1 or 1.5 and go slightly against the grain. But I like to use the razor. Light strokes. I find when the hair grows thickest at where I can get a nice thick edge up without pushing it back too far. And we work from there. That's all it is. Obviously, that takes practice. But see, look how I'm keeping the edge up. I'm not pushing far back. And watch where I go on the sides. Believe it or not, you can't tell how much hair the edge up actually has until you start edging it up. See, you would have thought that this was way lighter, but once I started putting that sharp, defined edge on it, it's like, oh. So, it's all about debulking everywhere you go in life. Remember that. All right, you guys watch the edge up. Now I'm stretched to keep the edge up even. I'm stretching from the top and the bottom. I still need to tighten that skin up, but I want to keep it. I don't want to pull too far up, and then I get a misconstrued data of where that edge up actually is. And when I use my razor, right, when you use that razor, be very light with the touch. It's a sharp utensil. You change your blade every time, but light strokes, okay? Stretch the skin the opposite way. You guys watch. Oh, now so right here, I'm cleaning them sides out. I'm cleaning the temple off. I'll come back with my clippers and I'll fade that out. Hope you guys stick around, watch the tutorial. I'm gonna show you the finish up clips. I'm gonna hit some spots again. I'm also gonna get the roach legs off. You'll see my finishing touches with the shears and with the clippers again. Hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate you. Like, subscribe. If you stuck around to the end, you're a real one. I got some dope content. I could have do locks off. He had them for like 10, 15 years, something like that. Look at that. Nice, smooth. It's natural. Look, it ain't going to be perfect because his hair ain't perfect. But it's beautiful. It's natural. It's nice. It's neat. It's clean. He looked much different than when he came in. You guys watch. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you the end clips. Stay tuned. See you soon.